Google's VEO3 model is all the rage at the moment, and it is currently the model that is creating by far the best AI videos. So let's look at how you can integrate VEO3 and n8n so that you can automate the creation of these great videos and build them into larger n8n automation flows. So at the time of recording this, if you want to access VEO3 directly from Google, then you have to get a $250 a month subscription. However, we can use this tool called Replicate to access VEO3 via an API, and we only pay for the videos that we use rather than having to pay $250 a month. It does cost a little bit more per video than if you were going to go with the $250 a month package. However, you don't have to pay $250 to get started. So the first thing that you'll want to do is come to replicate.com. You'll want to create an account or sign in. I believe you might have to have a GitHub account in order to sign in. Once you have created an account and signed in, you're going to see something that looks like this. Now, the first thing that we're going to want to do is come over here and get an API token. So you'll see that one is created by default, and we'll just want to copy that token and put it somewhere safe because we're going to use that later when we come into n8n. So the next thing we're going to want to do is search for VEO3 or VEO. There we go. And we get VEO3, the top one here. And we can see here that we're going to pay $6 per 8-second video. And by default, each video is going to be 8 seconds long. And we can see here the playground of how you can enter in a prompt, and you click run and it will generate a video for you. However, what we want to use is the API. So if we click on the API, and then if we click on HTTP, this is going to give us all the information we need in order to run this within n8n. So all we need to do is simply copy this, and then what we can do is come over to n8n. Now, I already have a flow built out, and this is the HTTP request that I use to generate this video. However, if you're creating this from scratch, you'll simply want to create an HTTP node on the right-hand side, and you'll want to click on the import curl and then paste in what we copied from Replicate's website. Simply paste that here, go import, and then all we have to do is change this part here, the authentication, and enter in here the API token that we copied earlier. Now, I've already created this node, so I'm going to delete this, but that's how you would do it. Now, if you want this entire template here, then come over to my community, the free community. You can download it for free and you can play around with it yourself. It will not have my API token in it. However, you can put in your own and get going with it. So before I show it in action, let me show you what's happening here. So we've simply got a manual execution to this flow. However, you could hook it up to something else. You could have it hooked up to anything like an Airtable table and have a button within the Airtable table that triggers this, or you could have it connected to a webhook, really whatever you want. Then what we're going to do in here is that we are passing in the prompt. So in this situation, you can pause it and read it. I want to create a video with a stormtrooper about how one of the stormtroopers is creating a snowman whilst there's a battle going on. It's important that you get this prompt right because it's relatively expensive, this model. So you don't really want to be playing around a lot with the model to find out what you should be prompting and how you shouldn't be prompting. So have a look online and find what the best practices are when it comes to writing prompts for VEO3. If you want to include text, put them in single quote marks rather than double, otherwise it's going to interfere with how we interact with the API. So all we're doing in this part here is simply setting the prompt. Then this is the node which is doing all the heavy lifting. So this is what we imported from Replicate, and you'll see that we are using this endpoint here. In the headers, we have our authentication as well as this prefer header. And then in the body, very simply, we've just got our request as a prompt inside input. So before I press go on this, let me explain what the rest of the flow does. So next we've got a switch. So this is going to generate the video. However, it's going to go on to the next step before this is finished generating the video. And we want to check to see if the video has finished generating. And if we open this up, we can see that what we're going to get is something that looks like this as an output. And what we want is the output string to be filled in. However, to begin with, it's not going to be filled in. So what we've got here in this switch is we have got two options, generated and not generated. The generated will see if something exists in the output. And if we fill this in here, the not generated will be if the output does not exist as text. So if it does not exist, and it won't exist to begin with, we are going to wait for 10 seconds, and then we are going to retrieve the video again, and we're using this endpoint here, and we're getting this endpoint from the response, which is here. We're using this get URL, and we're going to call that with our authentication here. So all we're passing in is our authentication and a get request to this get URL. And if we execute this, this is going to bring back the details of the video. You'll see in this example, the output is still null. So after it's retrieved this information, it's going to go back and check again to see if that output is still null and if it's not generated or if it has been generated. So this might take a while to create. If we go back over to Replicate, we can see that this example one here says it took 2 minutes and 18 seconds. So it's not absolutely instantaneous. It does take a minute or two. But when it is generated, we are then going to download the video. and this will download it as binary, which I'll show you in just a second when I run it. And then we're going to take that binary and upload it to a file on Google Drive where we can actually view it. So I am going to unpin this information from here, and we're going to run it, and we're going to see it in action. So I'm going to execute this workflow. We can see now that that video is being generated over with Replicate. It might take a second or two to generate. When it's generating, you can see the status of it by going over to your dashboard, and then you'll be able to see these recent predictions, which is what they call the API runs. And you can see here that this one is currently running, and it was started 51 seconds ago. You can see that it's finished generating now, and it's trying to get back that output URL, which does not get created instantly. And here you can see after 4 iterations, so 40 seconds, we have actually got that output. So if we look in here, we can see we've got something in the output, and it's currently downloading it. It's downloaded it. Here's the binary file here called data, and then it's uploading it to Google Drive at the moment. And there we go, it has uploaded it to Google Drive. So if I go over to Google Drive, we can see I've got a new file in here. If I open this up, this video is still being processed, but if I download it, just so we can have a look at it. So it takes a second to upload to Google Drive, but if we download it.
Okay, so we're in the middle of an active firefight. People are screaming, and Greg's building a darn snowman.
It looks pretty good, as most things from VEO3 do look. Okay, so we've got some subtitles, so we don't want that. We'll have to include that in the prompt. Don't put in subtitles, but looking pretty good. So that's how you generate videos with VEO3 within n8n. You could optimize this more. Do come on over to the free community, download it, have a play with it yourself, and let me know how you've optimized it further. You can put this into your workflows so that rather than just pressing start manually and then outputting to Google Drive, you could put it into an entire process. You could create a script which then creates multiple of these videos and then combines it into one video with something like CreaMate. There's endless things you can do. However, this is the basics of how you can use VEO3 within n8n to create some awesome videos. That's it from this video. Hope you have found it useful. If you've liked it, then please do give a like. And if you want to see more videos like this from me, then please do subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.